Hi, I'm Euglow. I'm a 7th grade English teacher, a language arts teacher, a learning specialist, and a coach at Rectory. On any given day, you'll always find me in room 309. If I'm not teaching, I'm grading, or I'm planning for the next lesson. Even though I've taught 7th grade English since I started here 8 years ago, I always love to change it up and improve each lesson. In 7th grade English, we read several different novels. A lot of the books in 7th grade, they have uncomfortable topics or topics that are harder to talk about, but I try to let them realize that they can ask questions and they should ask questions. And in English, we talk about different things. We talk about natural disasters that happen and what would happen if your whole family was taken away. We talk about identity. We talk about racism and the reality that racism still exists today and what we can do to change that. And I think the best part about 7th grade English is that the students just learn about different topics that are so real and so prevalent, and they start to realize that they have a choice and they can change the future. They recognize that they have a voice and they have an identity, and what they say matters, whether it's in the classroom or in the halls, and that words are important. One program that I teach here is language arts, which is a range of 7th through 9th graders, and I love this class. It allows them to get deeper into the novels and to really help them build their fluency and their reading stamina. It helps them understand comprehension questions, and it just helps them be able to find their voice in writing about whatever they're reading about. This language arts program hits home and really has some topics that are so important for students to understand and for middle school age students to talk about. And I think that's what makes it so wonderful, is it provides these students with the opportunity to read something that they can be engaged with and that they're interested in and that they want to talk about, but they might not know how to talk about it. In the Learning Center, we have the individualized instruction program, and that is where you get to do one-on-one or small group tutoring. I work with one student, so it's really goal-oriented and based upon what he or she needs. You can really focus it on that student and figure out if there's any missing assignments they have and how to organize their binders and prepare and prep for any tests that they may have upcoming. One reason why I love working at Rectory is its diverse population, and we have a lot of international students or just students where English isn't their first language. So I'm really able to use my ELL and ESL certification here every single day and to help them learn the English language, both written and spoken. I think a major question I always get is, how can my son or daughter become a fluent English speaker when English isn't their first language? And my biggest suggestion is to really immerse themselves, to talk to a teacher that you find that you're comfortable with, or to talk to a peer that you're comfortable with. And what I love seeing is when our students have friend groups that are a mixture. And that's what we do well here at Rectory. We have so many different settings for them to really find new people and to step outside their comfort zone. And speaking English in those public settings is really important, and we strive to help our students be able to have conversations with each other in English. And I think that is how you really learn English. As important as it is to speak English as much as you can, it's also important for those students to have that time to understand in their native language as well, because these students are learning English and they're trying to understand the English but also translate back into their native language, but then also be able to explain it to you in English. So it's really important to just allow them the opportunity to speak their native language when they need to, because it helps them express themselves, and it also is part of who they are. It takes a certain person to work with middle schoolers, and you know really quickly whether that's you or not. And after 8 years here, I think it definitely is me. I love this age group because I see them and this as an opportunity to have them find their love of school again. A lot of times at this age, students start to feel like they don't like school or that they're bad at school for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't do well in school in the past, or they don't get the grades they want, or they don't understand something. But I love working with this age group because I find that it's the year where you can still help them find the light and the fun in learning, to help them overcome an obstacle or some preset idea that they have. A lot of students will say, "Oh, English is my least favorite subject," or "I don't want to read another book in English," or "I hate reading." And I try to help them find the joy and the fun and the creativity and the imagination that can come from it. And I think that this age group, they like to test boundaries and they are set in their ways, but once they realize that an adult really cares about them and that the adult sees them for who they are, you have this opportunity to help them see school, whether it's English or another class, in a different light. And that's my goal, is to make every student know that they're heard and to make every student know that they're seen. From day one in my class in room 309, my students know that this is supposed to be like a safe haven for everyone. I always teach them that it's not black and white. There's always so much gray, and everyone has their own experience or their own ideas, their own thoughts. And sometimes you're not going to agree with someone, and that's okay. It's okay to disagree, and it's okay to share your own thoughts, even if they're totally different than someone else's. And the only way that that's possible is by having a safe space where students feel like they can express themselves. At the beginning of the year, I set up an expectation wall. When I first started here, I always gave them the expectations in advance. But I started to realize that the way for them to buy in is for them to create them on their own. So we created this expectation wall, and each class of mine created expectations that they agreed upon and that they ultimately designed posters for, allowing them to set those expectations for themselves and for each other, and even their expectations of me. No matter what I'm teaching, I really want my students to find their voice, both written and spoken. I want them to find the love of reading again, the love of writing, and to just be able to agree to disagree at times, to be able to hear other people's opinions, and to have compassion for other people and other situations. So there are two things that my students don't know about me right away that they end up finding out. One is that I learned to ride a motorcycle or motorcycles over COVID, and that's something that's really important to me now. And the other thing is that I love to lift weights, and I do CrossFit at CrossFit Aspinock right down the street from Rectory. And I think it shocks them at first, but then they start to realize that's just part of who I am. For as long as I can remember, I've known I want to be a teacher. When I was little, I used to set up my dolls and my animals, and I would teach to them, and it was just always a passion of mine. That led me into going to Nichols College for education, and I had this wonderful, amazing opportunity to teach in Puerto Rico during one of our spring breaks, and I was able to teach English language learners there. And it really opened up my eyes to the world of teaching, and my then passion became teaching to ELL students and to help them gain English knowledge and concepts and to just be able to thrive in the English language. A Rectory teacher came back to Nichols College, that is where she had graduated from, and she told us about the amazing opportunity to, right out of college, work, live, and kind of just grow at one place, and that was at Rectory School. And I kind of fell in love with the idea of just teaching and living and growing in one place that felt like home. And it was my absolute goal out of college to land the opportunity to work here. It's just such a blessing when I think about it that I get to work at Rectory now. If you're thinking about Rectory as a school for your next school or your son or daughter's next school, I think you have to realize that Rectory is definitely a community, and it's a family. We really care about the students, and We want them to succeed in everything possible. We're gonna treat your son or daughter as our own family. When I was a dorm parent, they were like my kids. And as a teacher, I still call them my kids. It's special. I think Rectory is a very special place, and it provides a really great experience.